First off, I'd like to state we have an emergency at Church of Gail. All the men on my marriage list have vagina butts so that they are unable to defecate. And this has been going on for over 2 weeks. And we need scientists out there who can help our nanotechnology research team come up with a way for my men to defecate so they can possibly by maybe letting them poop through their penis or maybe causing a lining to retract and expand when they poop through the vagina butt. Those were some of the ideas we had. But I'm certain we have space age technology and you might be able to help them. This is an emergency. If they don't, some of these men, if they don't start defecating soon, they will die from, I think they call it blood poisoning, from getting germs into your bloodstream. So contact them at Gail's Men, GAILSMEN at yahoo.com. I believe that one of the reasons that Jesus gave you the vagina butts, but didn't give you the ability to poop, was to create a scenario how he can show you how bad it can get when you don't do the Gail commandments. I believe the 10,000 men, including Viggo Mortensen, who rebelled against me and got furious at me for not caving into their unreasonable demands, did this because they've gone mad. Physical illness can bring out a mental illness. Jesus allowed your physical illness or your inability to poop to expose that about half the men on the marriage list have not been doing the Gail commandments, and as a result of that, now have a mental illness that makes them unfit to be on my marriage list. He knew we can use our space age technology to figure out a way for men with vagina butts to poop. The stress of not being able to poop caused their mental illness to manifest itself. These men need to be Baker acted, see Florida law, and that means we need to get them. We need to get them and put them into treatment. This is an emergency. Before they do something where they're going to harm themselves or others. They're dangerous right now. They're insane. And treated before they do something totally self-destructive. And every man on my marriage list must be on Seroquel. And if they get off Seroquel, they should probably be brought immediately into treatment before it devolves into the emergency that we have right now. This isn't just a life and death emergency because of the inability to poop. I believe those men out there are dangerous to themselves and to others right now. In fact, I've noticed when I go for my walks and when I go shopping, Lori's really upped the ante. I think she's using those men right now to help her. And that's not good. I mean, every time I go outside right now, I feel like I'm in danger. And I think it's partly because those men are loose and they're crazy. Every man on my marriage list needs to be on Seroquel. If they get off Seroquel, they need to be brought immediately into treatment. We need to have reads on all the men on my marriage list to ensure they're in Seroquel compliance. Or we're going to lose more of my men who go crazy and destroy themselves and innocents. Please remember what Jesus told me would happen to me if I didn't do the Gail commands, that I'd go mad, that I'd get off my Seroquel and go ferile, be like a crazy cat. And then I'm going to have a link to the video about what would have happened to me if I quit taking Seroquel. Imagine what could have happened to me if I wasn't taking Seroquel and doing the Gail commandments over the past year, when I didn't hear from any of my men for a year, even when I had emergencies and needed their guidance. But because I was on Seroquel and doing the Gail commandments, I handled myself wisely. Regarding that cup, that I got. Let me go get it. I washed it. Here it is. Yeah, this cup. This cup is my men put part of their penis on it. It's like around the rim. So if I drink from the cup, they can ejaculate into my mouth, I guess, when I drink the cup. That's what they told me. And it's made out of Zach Knight's semen. So Zach Knight once gave me a water bottle. Well, he did something to my water bottle in my car. So every time I sucked on it, I was actually sucking on Zach Knight's penis. So he has some Jesuit technology where he's able to use objects and make them the actual penis of my men. So this, when I drink from this cup, I'm actually stimulating my men's. They put parts of their penis in here. So um, what they did is, well, anyways, try to find the exact thing. Well, they put parts of their penis around the cup, and I can drink from it and stimulate their penises, and they can give me their semen that way. So only the top 10 men, not all the men in my marriage, it's just the top 10 in this cup. So, and it was made from Zach Knight's semen, I think. Anyway, it feels like a regular clay cup, but you know, that's space age technology we have. You know, I figured this out about that 10,000 men because I asked Terrence if they're still mad, and he said, yeah, they're mad. And they actually formed a group where they formed a group that they called where they said GMGTOW, pronounced Gu Mig Tao, which means they have a new name. It ain't Gail's Men it is anymore. They call themselves Gail's Men Going Their Own Way. And they spend their time complaining about me and how they don't feel they need me. But then they spend an awful lot of time having sex with each other's vagina butts. And I thought, what a miserable existence. And I said, I actually feel sorry for them, but not enough to want them back. If they'd let me, I could have tried to comfort them in group brain-to-brain sex. It's foolishness to turn on somebody who can help you. They don't seem to understand that the whole purpose of love is to be a soulmate to your companion. This means opening up about your vulnerabilities rather than attacking your lover. And I said, you know what? I said, I think they're suffering from a mental illness. The physical illness only brought it out. Mental illness makes you unable to get close to another person. And I think I just thought, you know, mentally ill people, they don't handle any type of stress well, and they tend to project themselves onto others, and they're actually seeing in me what they are themselves. And Lori McBride does this a lot. She's very mentally ill. So I'm not diminishing their pain, but the way they're handling it seems to indicate mental illness, and I think we really need to round them up and give them treatment. Physical pain will often cause a mental illness to manifest itself. For one thing, they're so crazy right now, they may not willingly and knowingly come in for treatment to enable themselves to poop, and they're going to die from blood poisoning. Once the blood feces gets into the blood, they're finished. They're gone. They're going to die. We can't sit back and let them destroy themselves. We got to help these men. They're suffering. They're mentally ill as well as physically ill. And the mental illness is probably more serious than the physical illness right now. And that's what you guys get for getting off the Gail commandments. You need to take your Seroquel. You know, as much pain as the men, the top 10 men on my marriage list are in, they don't lash out at me in anger over it. They're able to separate fantasy from reality. They understand it's not my fault. But a mentally ill person, when they're in pain, they'll tend to go into fantasy and blame an innocent for their pain. And so I think these guys are ill because they haven't been doing the Gail commandments. You know, men, when you're suffering, you need to open up to your spouse. Keeping this stuff in is really bad for you. And that's the mistake of the 10,000. Rather than take the risk that I'd see them as weak, they lash out at me instead. When a man admits his vulnerabilities to someone who truly loves them, it's one of the strongest things a man can do. It takes great courage to open up about what scares you, but that's the only path to love. If you aren't willing to be vulnerable, you can't have love. If you told me you felt weak and scared, and I ridiculed you, then I'm not worthy of you. We're all weak somewhere. We have to learn to trust our lovers. No trust, no love. And that's why I feel sorry for Vigo and the 1,000 that left. They're stuck in a cycle of blaming their lovers rather than showing their vulnerabilities and risking rejection. So they put on this bravado facade and act tough when they're scared to death. They think admitting their fears makes them weak. No, it makes you strong. It takes courage, emotional courage to do that, to make yourself vulnerable. They can't quit making love to my vagina butts because I'm one of the most understanding women out there, and they know it. So now they just say that women are all bad just because they don't have enough faith in me to believe that I can accept them the way they are, weaknesses and all. So rather than admit they feel weak, they put on a big show and attack me. This only shows them to be weak men and not strong men. A strong man will have the courage to show his true love when he feels weak. The blame game is a losing proposition. True love works on solutions. You don't waste time deciding whose fault it is when you have a healthy relationship. True lovers work for solutions. Throwing out blame gets us nowhere. And I'm praying for you guys. We need to get these guys. They're in trouble. They're in serious trouble, okay? Really need to help them. I sense that my men are in great physical pain and Vigo, but you know what? Let me tell you something. Even though my men are in physical pain, I believe that Vigo and those 10,000 men who left are suffering from an emotional pain that is worse than the physical pain. And you guys, that's why he's letting you all go through this. Jesus wants us to forgive these men. They're ill. They haven't been taking their Seroquel. And they probably all have a yeast infection to their brain. They need to get into treatment emergency. If you don't, they're going to do something horrific. It'll be really bad. So Jesus allowed this to develop, this situation to develop with these vagina butts to show you that anybody who's in Church of Gail or who's on my marriage. Also, do you know that time when you all had the Christmas presents and everybody was going crazy and injuring each other to buy me a present? Doesn't that strike you as a little bit off balance? You know what I think's going on? I think at least half the people at Church of Gail are mentally ill. You guys aren't taking your Seroquel. Shame on you. You're sinning against Jesus. You know better than that. You say, well, why didn't Jesus just tell us that we should have? No, Jesus already told you need to take your Seroquel, and you didn't listen to him. So obviously him telling you that you should take your Seroquel doesn't do any good. So he allowed this to happen because this is good. You'll never forget this. You're going to remember this forever. Now you see what happens when you don't do what Jesus says. You know, that's what's going on, folks. Okay? As bad as your physical pain is, the mental illness pain that Vigo and those men are suffering is even greater. And Jesus, he wants us to forgive them, take them back, put them into treatment, and they might become eligible for my marriage list if they put themselves on treatment and we can get them sane, okay? And also, you guys, don't think that this is where you're not thinking straight. I mean, you guys are not thinking straight. And the reason you're not thinking straight is because you're going a little crazy. You're not being logical. You think that just because you can't have actual physical love with me, that Jesus would not let you have physical love with me in the millennium? Jesus isn't going to do that to you. Even if there's 20,000 of you, he isn't going to do that. You have so little faith in Jesus and in me. First of all, Jesus understands that I can't make love to 20,000 men, and that's why he's given you the vagina butts. But he's depending on us to figure out a way to defecate. But the reason he blocked the defecation ability is because he wanted to let you see the results of your disobedience to the Gail commandments and to not taking Seroquel. You see this? This is why Jesus allowed this to happen. It's very important. I can tell you right now, you guys, what's going on. Those men haven't been taking Seroquel. Think about it. They're mentally ill. Jesus wouldn't do that to you. Jesus gave you the vagina butts because he wants you to have them to love me, in order to love me. That's it. You're going to get me that way. Even if you don't marry me, you got the vagina butts, so don't complain. You got the vagina butts. And in the millennium, I will probably have the ability to make love to 20,000 men with no problem. Okay? Get on your Seroquel. Shame on you for getting off of Seroquel.